Hello and welcome to another nimbleJS tutorial. I got a lot to cover today, so I'm going to try to recap on a few things that I might have missed in previous videos and then get right into it. First thing I wanted to talk about is the previous videos with Nimble REST services. What I didn't cover or didn't mention when I had demonstrated the random user me get functionality and how you can pull data and quickly push it to the view was the fact that Nimble, whenever you use this REST service, saves a copy or a historic snapshot of the REST service and the results you got back with the time date stamp on it, so that it'll inform the developer if he calls the REST service again if there were any changes to the REST service. Nimble does a good job at trying to keep the developer informed so that he doesn't have to hunt around or guess at what might have changed in the application. Here's a quick look at the digest.rest file that was created whenever you use data from a REST service. It shows the endpoint, the raw JSON items after it was parsed, and even has a date of when the REST service was last called. Just wanted to get into that and show that to you before I move into my next demo. On my last video, I talked about memory management. I felt it necessary to show you exactly some of the information that I was referring to. If you go to the MDN web service under Advanced and Memory Management and read the first two paragraphs, they pretty much explain some of the pitfalls that most developers use when it comes to JavaScript and memory management, and they compare memory management to C. Another thing to consider when you're talking about memory management in these current frameworks is that a known flaw with current frameworks such as Angular, Knockout, is that they embed JavaScript within the DOM, and the HTML format is an output format. It's not designed to handle code. It does not produce syntax errors. It does not let the developer know, and they have to parse through a node structure in order to make that JavaScript execute, and that causes major performance issues. Now that we got that stuff out of the way, we can get to the core of this video, and that's the difference between draggable and draggable. The draggable with 1G property is a custom property made by nimbleJS that allows the dialogs and any element or control that you put on the screen to be dragged around and moved around in the interface. So this dialog that I created in the for my home page is draggable with a single G. The draggable with 2 G's is a standard HTML property or attribute that allows you to drag drop elements on the screen, and it triggers a drag and drop event. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate that, a real drag drop event taken from W3 Schools with a twist, of course. It wouldn't be fun with Nimble without a little twist to a little tie trickery. Okay, so we have an image, we have a div here. We're going to drop the image into the div. If you've looked at this same tutorial or same code on W3 Schools, you'll see the following code events. On drag start, it's when the picture is about to be dragged. What we do is we grab the ID of the event. We store that ID in the data transfer, and then as we drag that image over the div, you'll see a drag over event will get fired on the frame or div in this case, and then finally when we let it go, we will be dropping the element inside the div, and this trigger will occur where we read the ID and then use straight JavaScript to append the child element of the document ID that we have in hand, which is the image. I added two nimbleJS API calls here to set the element by ID to make sure we're focused on the right dialog, and then to zero out the position, because this image is relatively positioned 37 by 41 from the upper left hand corner of the dialog. When we put it inside the div, we don't want it to be positioned here. We want it to be tight to the upper left hand corner of the div. So we're going to zero out those positions. Last but not least, I added this. This is not in the W3C tutorial, but I've added this so that if you double click this dialog, I'm going to minimize the form that it's on, or the form that it belongs to. And I did this for a reason, and you'll appreciate that after I've run the demo a few times. You'll appreciate why I did that. So let's build this app. I did set the draggable property on the image. I didn't show you that. I can show you the next time I run this. And we'll build this drag drop demo. Once the virtual desktop starts, we have a dialog with the draggable single G on. That enables this to happen. But now we can drag this image into this div here, and I turned the border on so that you could see it. So if I just grab this, well, before I grab it, let me double click the image so that you see that it does minimize the dialog. So we're gonna grab this and drop it here, and that's a drag drop property for nimbleJS, and any HTML JavaScript component can perform that feature. The event's fired and accept as it's supposed to. You can see that it was positioned in the upper left hand corner. But we all know Nimble is a little bit more powerful than that. It can handle multiple instances of the div. So if I was to say drag this guy and put it into that dialog, and grab this guy and put it into that dialog, you can see it still works perfectly as it should. But remember, I added a double click event. So if I double click on this image, it minimizes that dialog, because this image, even though it is placed on this dialog, it belongs to this its original owner, or its original parent. And the same thing occurs with this image. I just wanted to give you an idea of the type of powerful things you can do with nimbleJS and drag drop events. You can totally control how you drag drop events and the way they trigger in a multi-instance environment. You just have to be a little bit more careful in maintaining your instance, and that's with the set element by ID. You can set the proper instance by any ID of an element that you have within nimbleJS. Before I finish, I want to pull up the dialog as promised and show you that the draggable with 2 G's attribute is enabled on this image, and that's what allows it to be dragged and dropped into another element of any type. To make it react, all you have to do is set the onDrop event and code for whatever you want to happen when you drag the element. Nimble makes it simple to include drag drop events in any custom app. Multi-instance environments allows you to share objects between applications and dialogs. So I hope you enjoyed this demo. Thank you for watching.